women in the parliament. That would be the first point. Just in general, for you to know, many things have changed since 74 or 75. Many things have changed. We have a lot more women here, 39.1%, which is a good thing, but it's not enough. We don't have the balance between men and women, not yet, but we are working on it. And what I can say is that the parliament became also much younger than it was before. And I think that's important because we are doing politics for the people of today and tomorrow, but also not to forget the elderly ones. Huh? We don't forget them. But I think this is something positive in progress. Because in national parliaments, we only have 30% of women sitting in the chambre, for example. So I think also in Luxembourg, we can do much better. There are member states that have national quotas, mandatory national quotas. In Luxembourg, as far as I'm informed, it's an agreement between the parties that people that are listed are gender equal, and I think we should support that, and we should always push for that. I think that's very, very important. But therefore, also on the list of the Luxembourgish MEPs, we have the parity between men and women, which is quite good. Also, you might have heard that we have a female president, Roberta Mazzola. We have 8 female vice presidents out of 14, and also 3 female quaestors. Quaestors are those representing the members of the European Parliament and fighting for their rights. So I think there's a lot going on in Europe. There has also to be a lot going on in Luxembourg, so we should push that forward. One thing that is close to my heart, I'm one of the vice chairs of the Anti-Racism and Diversity Intergroup. So last week we had a meeting here talking about racism, but also how to fight racism and to promote diversity. I think this positive aspect is really important to promote diversity. And as you know, Luxembourg is a very multicultural country. We have 49% of people that are non-Luxembourgish, and they're the descendants, like me, are not counted in. So it's a multicultural, beautiful country with social freedom still, but we have to preserve it. And I think we have really all to stick together throughout Europe and beyond the borders of the European Union. We have to stick together and fight for this diversity, which is great. The exchange is great. So one thing in the parliament, unfortunately, we should have 10% of people of a different ethnicity, but we only have 4%. So the European Parliament is not yet, and I say not yet, representing 100% the society of the European Union. We have to change that, and I say that the political parties in our countries, also in Luxembourg, they have to make sure that the lists of their candidates during the political elections represent also the society. So people from a different religion, people from a different ethnicity, but also immigrant children that are born in Luxembourg, that are Luxembourgish, but of course they have another background. I think that's quite important. So that was what I wanted to say on that. Maybe you also have questions, because also in my case, for example, to be honest, it was quite difficult. Although I was a public person, people did not recognize that I have a diploma, that I have a master's degree, that I'm eligible to be elected, although every one of us and of you are eligible to be elected. So they put that into question, whereas for others, they did not. So even if you're a public person, it's not so easy. But of course, I fought and I got elected in the end. So what I'm doing is fighting for more diversity, fighting against racism, also with Mrs. Mua, the representative, the responsible for anti-racism, and also, just for you to know, with other colleagues, also from other political parties. Because here in the European Parliament, it's not like in Luxembourg where you have the different parties, but here we really try to work together on a certain objective, on a certain topic. And that's what we are doing with Germans, with French, with Spanish. And this is really great, and I love it. That's why I love what I'm doing. So also in the Luxembourgish chamber, there are a certain percentage of women, but what I'm missing is the representation of our multicultural society. Means, of course, Portuguese descendants, which is the biggest community in Luxembourg of immigrants. And of course, more women, because we only have 35. I want more. And yeah, also Black people. I'm one of the first Black elected. So not the first, but one of the first in a higher political position. And we have to change that. We should change that and get more women into politics, because we need the opinion of women, because maybe we think a bit different, but yeah. So I told you in the beginning that I have a disability. We have no one in Luxembourg in the Chambre who is disabled, but I think it's important, or has a rare disease, because I have a rare disease. I think it's important that they are also represented, because if you meet someone who is disabled, and I say each disability is different, you see the life in a different perspective. We see obstacles where usually you don't have any. And therefore, these people should also have a say and contribute in order to improve the social life of people. So that's the main thing I wanted to tell you. But also that, for example, my political group, Renew Europe, is very strong in defending and pushing forward the rights of women with the Simone Veil Pact, for example, and gender equality in general, also LGBTIQ rights. So we are really pushing that forward. That's one of the priorities of Renew Europe, and I'm very proud of it, that I am part of this progressive, pro-European political group in the parliament. And for the rest, there's so much to say, what I do, what I work on. But if you have questions, feel free to ask me.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I think you've given us a good beginning to the presentation. Luckily, I've got a very progressive class. They're always asking questions, and I see somebody has their hand up. Katlego, can you go ahead, please?
Good evening, Monica.
Good evening.
Yes, I might have missed the first part, but my question is, I just wanted to know how you got in parliament, whether it was specially elected or you got voted.
Okay, so it was the case. I finished my studies, and since I was a child, I knew a lot of politicians, but I was not politically really involved. Let's be honest. But then, of course, when the political parties make their lists, they see there are these people we could ask for, and I decided to say yes. Back then to the Democratic Party because I wanted to do more. So that's how I was running in 2018 for the Nationals. It did not work out. But then in 2019, I knew how it works, how you have to approach people, because it was different than when I was on TV. You had some topics you really had to learn the details in order to have arguments. And I did that. I did the campaign. I enjoyed the campaign. I enjoyed talking to people, or just meeting them or listening to them. That's also one thing, listening what people say. And then in the end, I was the second highest elected in my party. And then I came to Brussels. I was amazed by the building first. Secondly, I did not know where to go. And then thirdly, just to learn how we make politics here, because it's different than if you study politics. And if you are here, it's different. It's more technical, but there's also a lot of a social component. You have to talk to people, understand how they think, or they might think, or vote, and try just to explain to them, to support you. But at the same time, it's so international, and I love it.
Oh, fantastic! Now we've got quite a few hands up, so we
I have the time. I took my time. I took my time.
Oh, fantastic! You know, I actually have a quick question as well. You mentioned that there was 10%. There's a regulation that states you have to have 10% different ethnicity, yet you only have 4%. And my question to you then was, is it because the different ethnic groups are not presenting people to take up these positions of leadership? There's not enough of them, or what is it that's holding you back from having the full 10% representation?
I would say, okay, each member state is different. You cannot say that in each member state you have to have so many people from a different ethnicity. That you cannot say. But just taking Luxembourg, how many Blacks have been there on the list? Although, okay, we say Blacks because of the skin color, but there are many different communities. But for example, the Cape Verdean community is quite big. What I think is the reason is that people are less involved into politics because that has like a tradition, let's say, not to speak out, to tame down, to be humble and grateful, like in the bad times a few decades ago. Secondly, also not the motivation of some parties to put forward, for example, I just say Black, it can be Arabic, it can be Chinese, everything, Asian candidates, because they think they will lose voters.
Okay.
So there's, for me, a little resistance. In my case, it was easy. I'm Black, I'm known. 2 generations have grown up with my music, with my TV presentation. But for someone else, it's much harder. And that's why I went into politics, and I give everything in these 5 years of my mandate. in order to motivate others, first to speak out, to help others where they can, and maybe get politically involved. So that's what's on my heart.
Fantastic. I think you're going to definitely make a difference in that scene. I'd like to ask Esther to go ahead and ask her question.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Monica.
Hello, Mayan.
Sorry, I missed part of it, but I was able to read quite a bit about you, and it's remarkable. It's quite inspiring, I must say. Now, for me, I have, I think, a little bit more general questions. There'll be three of them. The first one will be, what has sustained you throughout this your leadership? Secondly, I wanted to know what learnable skills or continuous learning have you had to undertake to just, I guess, enable yourself to continue being the leader you'd want to be? And also in that question, what type of leader would you describe yourself as? Seeing that we're taking a course in women and leadership. And the third one is, what type of support system do you think women, ought to develop in order to be able to support each other? And I say this because through what we've been learning, and we must acknowledge, we lead differently. We are differently built emotionally, and that's not a negative thing. But what are the things we can do to support each other, the type of support systems we can put into place? I'll give you an example. Men do their deals late in the night at the bar, they go to the golf courses, and that's where they make their deals. And for us, what are the support systems we can put in place?
Very good questions, Esther. Thank you so much. What I have learned here in the European Parliament, because I was 22 years with RTL, that was a different type of working. It was also long days, many different characters, if I can say it like that, to get along with. High work pressure in the end. I think that's positive. Huh? But here's the same, but it's different. It's a political level. So if you're in a bad mood, don't show it. Don't show. Even if you have fever or whatever. Okay, we talk about post-COVID, but if you don't feel well, don't show it. Especially as a woman. It's not so good to do that. Here, but honestly, I'm like going against that. I'm a human being. I'm a woman. I have a family. I have friends. Maybe some friends are sick, and if I don't feel well, it's like that. I don't play a show. I was here not to be an an actor. I'm here to say what I have to tell, and take it or leave it in the end. But I'm still being me. And I learned that it's better you stay yourself here in the European Parliament and in this Brussels bubble, because we call it Brussels bubble, because with all the institutions, the EU Commission, the Council, and the European Parliament, all lobbyists and so on, it's like a big bubble. But I want to stay close to the voters and to the people I grew up with, very simple people. What type of leader I want to be? I want to be honest. I say what I want to say, and as I said before, take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. I do compromises here while negotiating, for example, minimum wage or quality traineeships with my colleagues. But as a leader, either you love me or you hate me, honestly speaking. But I was grown up by a very strong woman, my mother, who was a cleaning person, who worked from 6 o'clock in the morning until midnight, who worked for her daughters, who has given all her energy and power for her family and for us to have a better life than she had in Cape Verde. So I want to be that person that hopefully empowers some girls, but also some boys or adults to get engaged or to be critical and to follow politics. But not only politics. I'm also one of the responsible for gender equality in finance, women entrepreneurship. These are things I want to push forward, and I want to motivate people, and especially women, to do. But not to forget also those from a socioeconomic difficult background, because we often forget them. So that's what. So what type of support? What we are doing here, okay, we have, I think, 1 million WhatsApp groups. And we regularly go for dinners, for example, in Strasbourg. That can be with my group, Renew Europe, but it also is cross-party to get to know each other in a less, let's say, stressful or busy environment. I think that is important. Social media is also important, where you can get support and get to know people. So that's the way I do. And generally, if I'm on an event in Luxembourg, for example, just to talk to people and to get to know them. And then to say, or for example, like last week, the Anti-Racism Week, there were so many, also 2 ladies from Luxembourg, just to exchange. What is your story? What do you do? What is my story? How did I get there? As you asked, as it was asked just before, and then you can learn from each other. And these might be humble tips, but they can be very helpful in the long run. So the exchange, and not to think that someone is better than the other one, and if you know what I mean. We have to work together, because otherwise we as women, and especially women of a different ethnicity than Luxembourgish, we have to work together and not against, always together, because then we have a strong voice.
Lovely. I think you've inspired many of our students as well. I'll ask Alexandra to speak next. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be short as always. So Monica, my question to you is, how do you see this gender gap situation changing within the past few years? And what are your predictions for this year or years ahead? Do you see improvements? And, just, give us the overview of the actual, the improvements that you expect to see. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Short questions. You could work. You could be an MEP in the Parliament. You were beyond 1 minute. That's really good. Now we take many actions to fight the gender pay gap. We also have, of course, to see what the Commission and the Council are deciding. We are not the only ones who decide, unfortunately, although we are the only ones directly elected by the citizens of the EU. But we are very active in it. I see improvement. Let's say that in Luxembourg, I think it's 5%, but the gender pay gap throughout Europe is among 15%. It has decreased, but still 15% for doing the same job just because you're a woman. No. So we really have still to work on that. We make from resolutions to reports, everything that is possible. And I see we still have one generation of women that are now in pension. Do you say that? Pension? Retired, sorry, that are now retired, that really suffer. But we, I think our generation has got the possibility. You are at a business university. You had the opportunity to choose. You were not forced to found a family immediately. It is your choice if you want to, but it's also your choice, and especially for the women, to have a career, to go and work, and have the possibilities to have the congé parental. After congé maternité, congé parental, parental leave, where you can still fulfill your job, so that you don't have that gap of a few years while taking care of your children, to be unpaid and to not invest into your pension, because that is the main problem we have still in Luxembourg. I speak about Luxembourg because other countries are a bit different. So I think there are now new chances and opportunities for women, and I hope they take them into account. We're planning their lives, but we are becoming more autonomous, but we still have to push a little bit more. You are not a bad mother because you are making career, but you're also not a bad father because you are making career. But you are good parents, or mother, father, or however the constitution is of the family, if you take quality time with your child as much as you can. I think that has a bit changed. So it has become quite famous that fathers take at least one day a week to be with their children. That was not the fact in the 1990s, believe me. It was very different. So I think that's a progress, and we can be happy about it, but still support it.
Thank you. That's very encouraging, because I know for us, especially, I can speak for Kenya, you know, taking maternity leave or even taking up positions of leadership can be frowned upon because you're a woman and they feel that you will be distracted.
Oh, there's a little one in the background.
So
there's a little child. Hello, Mayan. Hello.
So,
no,
yes.
it's true. It's true. As gender mainstreaming responsible in economics and monetary affairs, I regularly monitor if we have like new applications for boards, that we have gender equality, but also intersectionality. Also very important. And I think we as the European Parliament, we should be an example. We should take the lead and show companies what intersectionality means, what gender equality means. And so I have questioned a few of the certain boards, and critically asked how his office will be composed, what he takes care of, because we have to be the first runners.
Yes. So I think, as you mentioned, there's still room for improvement, and I know for us here there's still a lot of room for improvement, because we're still a long way from achieving that gender equality, but we're still working on it. And you know, it encourages us to see women getting there, especially
Yes.
in what looks like an impossible situation. So we're really encouraged by your accomplishments. Eva, we just lost Eva, whose hand was up.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello.
Okay. Please go ahead, Eva.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really honored, Honorable Semedo. Thank you so much to grace our class. It's such an honor for me, and I'm so inspired by what you shared. I am Eva from Botswana, a 2 million worth of population down Southern Africa. I just want to say what you shared is really inspiring, because for us here, what we see is a generation of very assertive, empowered women now being faced with men getting more and more violent in responding to these empowered women. And I wanted to find out, in such an instance, how would you advise a country to address such a situation? Because we find ourselves with a generation of men that were raised by single women, a generation of men that are very, very angry, and a generation of men who are not trained to take care of a woman. And the only way they know how is through resorting to violence. And you have a generation of educationally empowered, financially empowered women in the country who are able to provide for themselves. And they end up being abused by these men, both at family level and in politics, where you find that a woman is going to be so abused through the media because she is assertive and she's able to stand up for herself. Either it's because of family issues, of marriage issues, and also being able to speak back or talk back to the publications. And this person would be labeled either by the media or the community itself. And we have, within our country, we have this thing that women do not befit the political arena because of how masculine it is and how unfriendly it is and how it is a dirty game, which is not an environment where a woman can flourish, can be able to manage family, can be able to carry out a career. And the other thing that I picked was when you mentioned women with disabilities. My interest particularly is with women differently abled or women with disabilities in politics. This is not something that we talk about very often. How do we get women living with disabilities to be able to participate in politics? Because in my country, I can say we really do not have any representation of women living with disabilities or differently abled persons, but particularly being a woman as members of parliament. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for your interesting question. If I had some kind of magic stick, I would tell that generation of men that are going against emancipated women, I would just do like this, and then it would be good. It's different. It's difficult. Sorry, it's very difficult. It will take ages. I don't know why, as you stated, these men were raised by single mothers. Why they are now going against women? Because in fact, they should have the respect before their mother that she alone managed to raise them. Also, their view then on women that make their own career. You don't have to be like high on board, but just make your career. And as you said, they are autonomous, the women, which is really the good development or evolution we have now. That in countries like Botswana, it's happening. But I don't understand why they think like that. But one thing we can do is to protect these women, to make them aware of their rights, aware how they can protect themselves physically, the children, but secondly also how to protect their career and everything they built up in life. So there's also a legal framework that has to be installed, social rights as well. So there are many things. So in order, instead of combating these men, strengthening the women or their partners for their rights. I think that's very important. But of course, I don't say not combating these men, but justice is also an important topic. And then thank you for the question on women with disabilities. It's like still a taboo. People don't want to talk about it. What I see is people don't even see if someone is disabled. They don't know what they say. That it's like if someone is talking to you because you are Black and he says something, but it hurts you, in fact. But that person is not racist, but they can say things. For example, I was at the supermarket and I wanted to buy a sandwich, but I could not detect what is in that sandwich. And I asked, and then she said, "Are you blind?" And I said, "Yes, I am, 75%. Is that now salami or is that ham?" Yeah? So, but you have to be strong if you are disabled, especially if you're a woman and if you're young, because people think that people with disabilities are people in the wheelchair. But first of all, there are different reasons why you are in the wheelchair. It can be your legs, but it can be your whole body. It can be your brain. I'm wearing glasses. I know that's a bit difficult for people to understand, but I have a rare disease and I don't see well, but I need my glasses. But bigger glasses don't help. There are others here, they are more blind than me. Others that are born with short arms. I just had a meeting with Felix, one trainee who is in the wheelchair since he was a child, but he's enjoying life. He's enjoying life. He sees the obstacles. He tries to circumvent them. He tries to help people to understand where the obstacles are when you are disabled, and is very motivated to be here in the parliament and contribute. So there are possibilities. And if I can give you one message is, if you know people or see people with disabilities or people that are disorientated or so because of their age, for example, try to help them. For me, I want to take the bus at the Lux Expo, but I don't see the number of the bus. So I really have to ask people, if my special assistant is not with me, I have to ask people, is this the bus to Grevenmacher? So these little things, I go home and I'm just grateful for what that person did. So please do that, and always keep an eye on your environment, what is happening in your neighborhood, and try to support. Do your best. You are all intelligent people. You are strong. And sometimes people need also your strength. And it can be a little geste in French, sorry, because I don't know the English word. It can be a little geste, just to say hello sometimes.
Thank you for that, Monica. And I think you've made a great point there in terms of being a little kinder in society, especially to people. And I try to stay away from the word disability because for me, they're just differently abled. There's maybe something that, you can do better than me. Just because I can see better than you doesn't make, you a lesser person, So I try to stay away from the word disability just because somebody is differently abled. And I think it's a very important point that you've made, that we need to be kinder as a society to people who are differently abled, and we must embrace them as part of us. And even going further, because I think we need to expose also our children to people who are differently able, so that they know that this is part of life. It's not something that they need to be gawking at and seeing as different. People are differently able. Others are more visible than others, but doesn't make them less human or different from the rest of us who can see better or who can walk better, or, you know, it's something I think we need to make sure that we are aware of and take in the environment and make us all aware of what is going on around us. So I really like that you have brought that up. We have somebody called Caroline who had written a message. I will get to Noreen and Unity in a few minutes. Just give me a minute to read out Caroline's question. Caroline had said, hello, Monica, please share on how you were able to break the barriers for you to reach where you are, and what motivates you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. What barriers? There were many in my life, but I was raised as a self-motivated, independent woman. I love to go to school, and that's what I'm saying, and you're all at the university. Education is key. That's what I'm promoting, especially for you. So that's why I'm so proud to work on quality traineeships. So my education gave me some wisdom, some level of wisdom, but especially my master's degree. Although nobody believed that I could make it, my master's degree gave me freedom. It gave me the freedom to say to RTL, after 20 wonderful years, hardworking but wonderful years, I quit. And I go into politics. I take on the challenge. I try. I don't know if I will be elected, but I try because I have my diploma with me. That was my backup. So therefore, I think education is key. And for the rest, there are always barriers. You have them in politics, you have them in economy, in education, but you have to overcome them and not making yourself a victim in the end, or seeing yourself as a victim, but stay calm and try to overcome. But also communication is sometimes important, that you confront the persons in a nice way to talk about what difficulties they have. No, I just have not noted the second question. But these are the main things where I landed now. And I don't know what will happen in 5 years. I don't know. But I have some security, yes.
The second part was what motivates you?
The people. It might sound a bit like, yeah, I'm interested in people. What motivates me the most is to bring some normality in the European politics. We are talking about minimum wage. None of the people I have met in the negotiations, and I was one of the negotiators, has experienced that or knows how it is to live for minimum wage. To bring in immigrants, migrants, refugees, people from socioeconomic difficult backgrounds, I have to push for that, and I'm pushing for that. But sometimes people forget that because they have, and that is not their fault, they have a different background. They like to talk about poverty, but do they know what it is? When the fridge, after 2 weeks, is empty, do they know? So, and what, either you pay electricity or you pay food. What do you do as a single mother or father? So I want to bring a bit of normal life of people that are struggling each day, of people that are also not, how do you say, people that are not forgetting themselves. As you are at the university, and I remember my time, yeah, you also have to struggle, but you are fighting for what you want in your life, to have a good life afterwards, to have that security, which I more or less reached with my master's thesis. So I just can tell you that motivates me to make the laws in the European Union in a way that you are more mobile, you can exchange more, you are more free, but you also have more rights, and especially women, and that the politicians also are aware we need more women in politics still, as the professor well said. That's my motivation, my motivation, and I want to motivate you to go forward on the path you are. Hope to see some, and especially some women also in entrepreneurship, finance, but even in education. Yeah, that would be great. Or healthcare, or IT. Huh, I don't know if you're interested in that, but that would be great to see you there and meet you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very inspiring. I hope you're motivated by that. I'd like Nolene to ask her question.
Thank you so much, Prof. I've been following from the beginning and I'm motivated. I wanted to ask the same question that you've answered. I'm glad somebody has raised it and you've answered it well. Thank you so much, Honorable. I'm very happy and I'm praying for you. You have that innocence and you're motivated in what you're doing. I'm praying that you keep it up, and I'm praying that you are not changed. My concern though is about politics. I think maybe I'm not so much exposed, but so far everyone goes into politics with the mind of changing the systems, you know, the way things are done and all this and all that. But when they get to the parliament, they get that things are very different. The dynamics in politics is very different. And so at the end of the day, after 1 or 2 years, the innocent person that you voted in starts changing. And after 5 years, you don't want to see that person. What are you doing about this? Is it a challenge with you, or it's just in Kenya, or is it just an African thing? If it is a global thing, what are you doing as an individual to keep your focus on what you want to do? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that beautiful question. Okay, to change the system, as a youngster, you always try to change the system somehow. I did not come here to change the system, but I detected some difficulties we have here. For example, let's say discrimination, not equal chances, and so on and so forth. Minority representation. I want to change that, but I'm not. I'm blind, but not so blind. I know it's not me who will change the world. I need allies, but we are working on it. So changing the system as such, there should be many changes here, I can tell you. If you ever had to do with the European Parliament administration, then you know we really need to change the system. But I promised myself, and I said to myself, if I'm elected and I go to the European Parliament, where I was in 1992, I think, 1993, with my class, and I came here 30 years later, not to change, not to become, to play a role first, and not to think that I'm a better person than others, because I'm elected for 5 years. And after that, I don't know. I hope I will be re-elected, but what if not? And you know what always makes me sure is to have my daily conversation with my mother. My mother, sometimes she doesn't even want to hear what is happening here because she's annoyed what is happening here. but sometimes she's also like, okay, Monica, take a bit deep breath. Think about maybe this is a solution, maybe this is a solution. So I think to have a few good friends, but especially to have a family is very important. I just see women in leadership. Do you think there should be more women leaders in political? Yes. So we have to go.
We're just running a poll for everybody. This is a question for everybody to answer. So I just I wanted you to carry on as we answer the question. Just letting everybody know that the poll is up.
But this is
Monica,
very important to me.
Ahead.
And
Sorry
I also, yes, I also have to leave because I now will have the first shadow meeting on quality traineeships. Shadow meeting means that I meet the other people from the European People's Party, the Social Democrats, the Left, the Greens. Now I forgot. Okay, the right wing, but okay, they are part of the system, unfortunately, and the ECR. So and we are having our first meeting. So I have to prepare a bit. Because it will be a 2-hour meeting, and yes, just for you to know. But I really want to motivate you. Let's keep in touch, okay? Follow me on LinkedIn, always good. If you want to do a traineeship, apply. And no, but you have a stance, and I think you are doing important things. And also this working group, I think is very important. So thank also to your professor for enabling you to exchange on women in politics and leaders. And I hope to see one of you to be a positive leader in the future, no matter in what sector. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Monica. I think we had one more question, but it's okay if you need to leave. We have
Yes.
really enjoyed this session.
Okay, what is the question? If I have 2 minutes, not more.
Okay, Unity went away, so I just want to ask this question. Somebody had asked. She was wondering if at times you also have challenges with having to deal with the imposter syndrome. Do you feel that you're not always do you sometimes feel that you're not always achieving as much as you know that you're doing a great job? And Unity, unmute yourself really quickly so that we can hear. Go ahead, Unity.
Can't hear.
We can't hear you, Unity. You're not very clear.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
yes,
can.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I think because so I
don't hear.
Unity, your connection is not very good.
Do you have the question, maybe?
Maybe you can type it up in the chat. I would like.
Okay.
I cannot read the chat because it's too small for me.
Oh no! What I was going to do, if she types it up, I would read it to you.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can zoom. Thank you for sharing your story. Oh, thank you so much.
So Monica, we were just, as she's typing up the question, I just wanted to, on behalf of the class, say thank you. This has been such a great session. Wish that we had more time because I'm sure we could go on forever. I've got I've got a very fantastic class here. They're very participative, and a lot of the time we do go on a lot longer. So we want to actually take the time to appreciate you. You have done an excellent job, and I think we would have loved to have you come more and more and more. But for making the time, we are really grateful. This has been a very inspiring and motivating class. I speak for everybody when I say we are grateful, and we are now going to emulate you. I've seen some of the comments earlier. they said they're going to now take up some of your advice on how to take on women leadership and make it practical, take it into their practical life so that they're able to.
What is important in general is to have some sort of mentorship. That's what I'm asking also for quality traineeships, that you have mentors that show you, that give you advice, that take care of you, how it works in that company or in that institution. So mentors and also role models. Role models are important, and people should be engaged in motivating other people, not taking themselves or their summers, not taking themselves as a better person, but sharing their experience with others. Okay, so now I think I see the question. Can you share with us some important skills on behavioral attitudes when aspiring politics should deliberately develop? Well, it really depends also on the working environment, as I can answer now. So first of all, why should women behave differently than men? That's my main question. Secondly, if women behave different as men, why is that so? What can we change about? For example, a man can say things that a woman cannot say. He can behave in a way a woman should not. Let's say it like that. Should not. It's not politically correct. Why? Honestly, I don't care. I don't care. I am me. I try to be polite. I try to listen to observe, but also to listen to. I try to be a human being, which also entails that sometimes it can be that it appears as weakness. But as initially was said from one of the students, even that, to show emotions, is a strength. Stay to your emotions, stay to yourself, stay to you as a human being. And I think that's one of the main things as leadership. If you want to play a role, you will never go home and be happy. That's my conviction. You will never be yourself. You're playing a role, which is really tough to do for several years. You can do it one day if you, as we say, stand up with the left leg, foot, but you cannot endure playing a game. That's not possible.
So as a wrap-up,
be positive. Be positive. Yes. Be yourself. Be strong, and take the lead.
Somebody has asked a very important question here, and I know we're going to send you questions.
But I have to leave. Yeah,
I'm going to send you questions via email. But somebody has asked a question here that is so important. She says, "Have you? This is Deborah. Have you ever experienced workplace harassment, and how have you handled situations of sexual harassment in the workplace?"
Sexual, not directly, but 20 years ago it was also a bit different. I have to say. So it was more verbal.
Yes.
Not somebody touching me. It was more verbal. Here I feel it, but people try not to be. But in the end, what they say sometimes is a bit like that. It's for example, as I said last week to the people from the anti-racism week, that the mother of one of my ex-boyfriends on the Sunday lunch, she said, all Black sell drugs, but you are different. She did not mean it bad, but first of all, what she said was nonsense. But in fact, she wanted to make me a compliment somehow. And I said to her, this is racist. Huh? These are little things but this was now a very strong what she said. But also other nuances where you recognize, okay, people don't feel well, they don't want to talk about skin colors, or even women that have power and make their career, they are not so comfortable with that. I don't know. I hope we can change that. And I think if each of us who is participating today works a little bit on that and stays motivated, follows, of course, please finish your diploma. But if we just look around and take a bit care of other people, are less selfish, I think then we can reach a lot, but together in exchange. And that's why I'm so happy you invited me. Let's see, maybe we can repeat this. I would luckily say yes, sir. So let's see. There is still so much going on here, so I have a lot to say.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you too.
No, but thank you so much. And I think my
Thank
biggest takeaway for today is be yourself. That I think is
Yes.
Don't play a role, just be yourself. And I think that for us is a big message, you know, because we've looked at all the different types of leadership and what it takes to be that kind of leader. But most importantly, and just hearing from you as an experienced leader, be yourself it speaks volumes. So we want to say thank you. We don't want to keep you too long. We really appreciate what you've done. If we have any questions, we're going to send them all to you, and then I can share them with the class.
Yeah, okay, we do that. Okay, have a great evening.
But we really appreciate you taking time to be with us. Thank you, you too, and all the best with your meeting later. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.